Welcome to the CarCast+Edmunds podcast. I'm Matt, the moderator, Deandra, here with Alistair Weaver. How are you?
How's it going for you, Matt?
It's good. It's good. This is a big show. We've got the Edmunds
Dude,
Top Rated Awards,
how
and
many shows have you done now? Like about 1,000 shows or something?
yeah, it's something like 1,100 or something. I mean, it says over 1,000, but it's more than that because there's the first couple of years we didn't even log. We didn't even count. It was like 3 years. So yeah, there's I don't know 1,300, 1,500 shows, and uh, you know sometimes I flub it. There's a lot to get into today, so let's just go ahead and get the housekeeping out of the way. Our friends at Bet Online, they continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. And with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball to NHL and UFC, BetOnline is your number one betting source for the new year. From touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks, BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right. Beginning of the year, Edmunds Top Rated comes out. This is all kind of exciting for the manufacturers and for people that are shopping for cars. And for you guys, it's just like a wipe of the brow going, thank God this is over. I've been working on this for 4 or 5 months. And you're just kind of, after today, maybe you get like, does your editorial team get like a day off at least? Or how does that work?
Don't put ideas in their head. Yeah, it's all of the above, really. We start these projects back last summer because you have to. I mean, we test everything, but then there's also certain vehicles that you need to get in for testing for the awards. And if you think about it, we launched the awards today in January 25, but we actually test and have to create the content at the end of last year. So, excuse me, there's always a bunch of vehicles that come out around November time that we're kind of like, scraping to get into the awards, but we think are really critical. So you got all that sort of pressure. You're working with manufacturers. We need this vehicle. We need it now. We need it at the test track. Every vehicle that gets considered has to be through the test track. We have to do all that data. Then we shoot it in sort of end of November, beginning of December this year. Then, of course, you've got to put it all together. There's literally hundreds of different pieces of content, huge organization across Edmunds, all the different teams involved. And then it all goes live at 6 o'clock this morning. So I've been up since 5, doing a bit of like QA, quality assurance on some of it. There's always
Yeah.
a few little niggles that go, a few little things, the odd backslash that's not in the right place or whatever, stuff that people never see, but you just
Right.
internally is
Mostly on the
like,
tech side, right? Like there's always, something like, a newsletter flaw or a little thing on the website. And a lot of it goes kind of unnoticed to most people. But yeah, for the team working on it for months on end, it can get frustrating.
to be honest, it's been an awesome team effort. Like every year we try and raise the bar a little bit creatively. We try and raise the bar in terms of like what exposure we get for it. How are we doing? We're doing some influencer stuff this year. It's like, so every year you just try and inch it forward a little bit. I think this year, I don't know, I'm biased, but I think this year is our best creative. It's a fun thing to do. It's the end of the year. You get to shoot. You get the whole team together. We're shooting down at a studio in Long Beach. You got all like the fancy lights. You feel a bit, I think like Paris Hilton had done something like the previous week or something. I don't know. You always feel a little bit, you feel a little bit Hollywood for once. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, all of the information is on the Edmunds website. If you go there, you'll find it, but edmunds.com/top rated. But let's go ahead and run through some of the stuff. We've got the main categories we have it for top rated are car, SUV, electric SUV, truck, and electric truck. And of those six categories, and then we have the best of the best overall, the one that takes the cake for everything. So why don't we take a look at car and just let's mention the runners up here and
Yeah,
kind
and
of
maybe Matt, before we get, we should just talk at the top at like the philosophy behind this. So you get a lot of awards things like you think about the Oscars, where it's like the best movies that have come out this year.
yeah,
What we're trying to do is say actually this is not the best cars that came out this year. This is just the best cars you can buy in 2025.
right.
So from a
That's
kind of that's a big distinction that sometimes is a little bit lost. And for a consumer, it's like you want a shortcut to best vehicles on sale. This is it. Because the problem with doing like, hey, it's the best car that came out this year is, you end up awarding something that actually, you don't think is the best in class. I remember, so I'm going off on one here, but I remember like, I don't know, 20 years ago into an award ceremony in London, and we were invited by a particular manufacturer, and we all stood around like having a gin and tonic at the beginning of the evening going, I wonder what won. Somebody goes, oh, this, no. And then like at the end of the evening, we realized that manufacturer had won, and nobody in the group had even said, oh, you guys might have won. Because we all thought it was really mediocre. But the reality was it was like the vaguely most interesting car that happened to come out that year. It was just a bad year. So we were stood always thinking, I wonder if like Land Rover won this year. I wonder if that won. It's like, no, you guys did. That's why there's like 20 of us and all the champagne. So anyway, long-winded way of saying it's not that. This is just the best cars on sale. So I'll shut up and we can carry on with car.
Okay, let's talk about cars. So I'm gonna show you guys this as we're doing it. So as we get into it, some of the top contenders, we have a Mercedes.
Yeah, so the highly recommended stuff is, we take everything on the market and then start to distill it down. And because we only have one car award, obviously we're looking across all different segments. So the idea of the highly recommended is to recognize really good cars that are in slightly different segments, but maybe aren't winning the overall award. So Mercedes E-Class, Toyota Camry both stand out. Obviously E-Class more in the luxury class. It's an E-Class. There's nothing that kind of, it looks quite conservative, but really nice interior. Just, if you were driving one of these every day, you would love it. It's not like you don't get up in the morning, oh my God, I'm incredible, I've got an E-Class. But it's just such a great all-round product. Just a really nice way to travel. So E-Class. And then Camry, everybody talks about SUVs. Toyota's still shifting, 300,000 of these a year at least. Hybrid only now. They've just done a great job of updating it. Really spacious, really good value. Interior's miles better, looks better as well. It's just a really good all-rounder. It's not the coolest thing in the world, but it's just, you understand why so many families across America rely on them.
I mean, you as you were saying, I mean, the SUVs are so popular out here in this country that they often take the top sales numbers, but for a car these days to sell over 300,000 units, that allows Toyota to invest a significant amount of time and money into making sure the Camry is successful year after year. And not a lot of car companies have that luxury of going, we have the budget to, when somebody goes, hey, a Ford F-150, we have $1 billion budget to make the Ford F1, the next version of the Ford F-150. It's like, yeah, because you sell 800, 900,000 of them a year. So you have a huge budget. And for something like Camry, they still have a significant budget, and it makes sense for them to invest to make sure this car is good year after year. So it's a tough contender. It's tough to beat this car.
It is. And, in our testing, front wheel drive version 45.9 mpg, and that's like in the real world on our test cycle. So that's for something as big and as spacious and as comfortable as that's really impressive. So right now we're all feeling the pinch, right? Interest rates are high, cost of living's gone up, none of this is new, vehicles are still really expensive. So when you look at our winners, we try to take that into account, and the Camry starts in the 30s. Our overall winner, which we can turn on to now, starts at 30 grand for a hybrid version. So it's, we try to think about that affordability as well. And the Camry's just a lot of car for the money.
Yeah, but it didn't win.
But it didn't win.
And the winner is the 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid.
I could do that with a bit more fanfare, but yeah, it's
it's the Honda Civic Hybrid.
I tried to do. You should hear my voiceover by the time it'd been through the old compression and stuff. But it's just a great car. There are moments where, for whatever reason, a manufacturer just absolutely hits the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And this is one of those moments. So there's just every little detail of it is just so well executed. I mean, the Civic's got bigger. I mean, it's more like what the Accord used to be. So there's the space inside. The tech's fantastic. Uses a lot of Google tech now, so the tech's great. then the hybrid system really elevates it. It's fast. I mean, it's like SI fast. So you've got something that's actually quite sporty in terms of performance, but is also, returning fantastic economy. And
Yeah.
it's 30 grand. You can have one on the road for like 30,100. Higher spec versions are going to be under 35. So it's just a really good all round car. And I think it's nice that we've taken the decision this year to, you don't have to always award something that looks that has like some kind of, ridiculous styling or whatever. This is just a brilliant all round car. And
Yeah.
everybody who drove it went, this is really good.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
Honda Civic is a big seller as well. I'm not quite sure if the numbers are there with Camry, but I would imagine they're pretty close. Those two cars are sort of the bread and butter cars right now for both of those companies. So I would imagine that the Civic would have been on that list.
Yeah, it doesn't sell as many as like the CRV, but it's just a great all rounder. And the hybrid particularly just elevates. It's worth spending that little bit more. It's kind of interesting this year that of our three, because we do three gas, three EV, and then the best. Of the gas cars, two of the three are hybrid now, and we took
Yeah.
the decision that we should include hybrid in the gas category because, like, the Camry's only a hybrid, but I think that stigma or that association's gone. It's just a more efficient way of traveling.
And I think the sales numbers will determine whether or not Honda even sticks with a gas engine and a hybrid. Maybe they just end up hybrid as well. If that just ends up being the one that people buy and the numbers are leaning that way. And as they get the price of those cars so much closer together, hybrid may be the only option.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump to the next category to electric car.
So electric car, we were waiting to see whether we get a retweet from the Oval Office. We did get because the Tesla Model 3 has won that award. We should start with the Halo. Okay, but let's start with the winner. We can work backwards. But Tesla Model 3, big
Yes.
update. It might look pretty similar. It's a heavy facelift, but the changes they've made have really just addressed a lot of the concerns. So the quality is the best we've experienced in a Tesla. It's good, both in terms of like the material choice, but also the build quality. The efficiency's gone up. The ride quality, which is always a bit of a challenge with the Model 3, that's much better. And it's, the prices, particularly if you lease it, are actually really, say affordable. It's still reasonably expensive, but it's compared to other EVs, it's just a fantastic all-round package, sensible pricing, just a really good product.
This is another vehicle where, because it's such a big seller, that now Tesla is able to not just invest more into this car, but get enough feedback from owners because there's so many now to say, what do we need to do to fix this car, to revise this car, to make it better, to make it more comfortable, better range, like all of the things that you're looking for.
That's right, and I think particularly on the build quality stuff, when you're building hundreds of thousands of units a year, you can sort of finesse the details. You've got buying power. There's just a lot of things that it gives you power to do, and we like the long range, the dual motor long range, but also the performance. The performance, as we've talked about on the show, if it's supercar fast for 60, 70 grand. So it's not the sensible one to buy, and it's also significantly more expensive to lease than the normal ones. But like a Model 3 long range is just a great electric car.
You guys
Tesla.
bought both of them, didn't you?
We bought both of them, yeah, just because we thought there was enough difference to make it interesting. No, it's the facelift, if you want to call it that, is kind of more than the sum of its parts, and it bodes well for the Model Y, which is about to have an update too.
Yeah. Okay, and then the highly recommended cars, the runners up here.
Yeah, so Ioniq 6, the Hyundai, this is super polarizing because it has that sort of streamliner, almost like 1930s streamliner aesthetic.
I just keep saying it's the sad face car. Like when you look at it from the side, it's just frowning. The profile of that car.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get one as the family car. My wife took one look at it and was like, that ain't happening.
No.
But it's one of the most efficient cars we've ever tested. It charges the fastest. It's got great charging technology, and it's super, super efficient. It's very spacious, particularly in the back. challenge is, I think the looks are polarizing, and they are struggling to sell them because people tend to look to the Ioniq 5, which is the SUV. But if you want something different, really spacious, really, good to drive, tons of range, super efficient, charges really fast, great lease deals at the moment. Ioniq 6 is well worth looking. It's nice to stand out. It's nice to have something a bit different.
And I'm looking at your notes on it. 342 miles of range is what you guys got out of it.
Yeah, and it recharges really fast. So, and starting this year, you're also going to be able to use the Tesla superchargers. That's going to help. I just love the fact that Hyundai, is doing all this different stuff and had the guts to build. And I hope the fact that it's not selling that fast in America. I hope it doesn't put them off being bold in the future. We'll see.
So the other one is the BMW i5, and this is a car that you've spoken highly of over the past year. This isn't particularly new. Maybe there's some changes for 2025, but in the luxury market, you've been a fan of this car.
Yeah, we run one as part of our long-term, test lab, our year test program. It's almost like the inverse of the Hyundai in that the i5 is like, what we're going to do is give you a 5 Series and it's going to be electric. So it's not. BMW had this idea, which now lots of others seem to be copying, which is, although we're going to do the iX as a standalone electric car, let's just take the 5 Series off a gas, off a hybrid, off a electric. And a lot of engineers say, oh, that's compromise, but actually they've executed it so well that it's just a really nice thing. We talked about the E-Class in the car category. Yeah. The i5 is much better than the EQE. Just a really nice thing. It's just fast, it's comfortable, spacious, decent range, not amazing, but decent range. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay, let's jump to the SUV category. This is an interesting category because it is so competitive. Separate from the electric SUV category, this is the overall SUV category.
This is the ICE category, yeah.
Yeah, this is probably the one gets the most attention, right? So.
It does. Well, you look at the data; it's this, and it's this basically that gets the most attention because it's the category that people buy most of. And this year, should we start with the highly recommendeds?
Yeah.
So, Hyundai Tucson hybrid, the Sportage hybrid won this award last year. Obviously, the Tucson is its sister car, but had an update this year. It's just a really well executed family SUV, compact, small SUV, whatever you want to call it. Honda CR-V rival, doesn't sell as many as that or the RAV4, but is arguably a better product overall. And in hybrid form, we're not a massive fan of it in standard form because the powertrains aren't amazing. But if you go into the hybrids, yeah, really, really good. So again, another hybrid winner. And then more luxurious, more money, Lexus GX. It's got that sort of Judge Dredd styling going on, right. But it's distinctive. Obviously, sits alongside the Land Cruiser as a sort of sister car. But we're big fans of the Lexus. A little bit more luxury. Different powertrain. 3.4 liter turbocharged V6, 10-speed auto. It's just if you want something that's a great kind of does a bit of off-roading, great on road. If you live in the snow belt or something like this would be an awesome choice.
Is this still built on like the truck platform, or they switched to a standalone?
This is standalone. So it's like the Land Cruiser, and then obviously you've got 4Runner, which will be on the Tacoma platform. So they've separated it out a little bit.
Yeah, I think they nailed it on the design. I think it's kind of cool. And a Lexus, right? I mean, what Lexus has always been able to do with their build quality and reliability, this seems like a no-brainer for getting it on the list.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think you have, if you're going to do the Land Cruiser got that kind of retro vibe going on.
Yeah.
And then the GX is much more kind of futuristic and brutalist, or whatever you can call it. So we're actually buying one. We're about to buy one for our test fleet to live with one for a while. I'm quite excited. I think it's going to be I think, when we get to vacation time, if it's family road trip time, I think that's going to be a popular choice.
Yeah, and then they've gone to the 6-cylinder, but the turbo 6-cylinder mated with their 10-speed transmission, I would imagine is going to be pretty much on par with whatever the outgoing V8 was.
That's right, but more efficient. And they've managed to they basically separated out the Land Cruiser and the Lexus in terms of powertrains. And yeah, you are effectively getting V8 performance with more efficiency, which, I know we all miss the V8s, but frankly, in a vehicle like this, it probably makes a lot more sense to have a turbo V6.
I drove the previous gen version. I did a trip in it to like Arizona, then up in the mountains, and then back to Vegas, and then back to LA. And as nice as it was, yeah, we're definitely stopping for gas on
Yeah.
that V8 version. All right, so the winner overall, here we go. The winner is the 2025 Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid, another hybrid,
Another Toyota.
another Toyota.
Um, it's just, this is not massively groundbreaking. It's not like massively sort of polarizing or anything else. It is just a really, really well executed family three row at at a very sensible price. It's just what Toyota does well. And Toyota's refreshed nearly their whole range in the last year, and they're really on a roll at the moment. Grand Highlander's selling really well, big, comfortable, starts at, not much over 45 grand. It's just a really well executed family car. It's one of those vehicles, a bit like the Civic Hybrid in a way that, it's hard to pick fault in it. It does everything really well. And to your point, I think they've got they're going to sell a ton of them. They've got good R&D budget behind it. They've just honed every detail. And, I remember driving it in Hawaii of all places the first time I drove it and just thinking, this is just really good. And then, we've had it back in LA for proper testing, and just a great all-rounder.
Okay. Let's we'll jump to the next category, electric SUV. And now we're getting to the point where this category is starting to grow, right? Electric trucks, electric SUVs. So this is kind of interesting what falls into this category. Here we go. We've got the top rated. These are your two runners up.
Yeah, so Equinox EV,
yeah. Okay.
Volkswagen ID Buzz. So Equinox EV was one of those where you want to recommend cars that are, affordable. We can all say, oh, like you should buy a Pagani, great. But the Equinox EV came along, it's like 35 grand for an EV with a ton of range. We did 350 miles on the Edmunds EV range test, which is fantastic. 356 miles. At an affordable price. It's as big as a Blazer. It's got space. There's a lot of tech. There's a lot of things to like about it. The driving experience isn't great, and also there's a few little details like that just sort of slightly grate on you. Like it's got a plastic steering wheel. Little bits of cost cutting. You're like, why have you put a plastic steering wheel? That's the bit that you touch all day.
Yeah,
and you've kind of cost cut in those areas. There's a few irritations, but the biggest, it was close to winning. And the reason it didn't in the end is because when you actually looked, most people are leasing these vehicles, and when you looked at the lease rates, the reality is you can have something like Ioniq 5 for about the same money on a lease. Even if the MSRP starts higher, you got to think about how people are buying them. And when we started to look at that data, it was like Equinox is good, but if it's just, if you're going to be able to lease an Ioniq 5 for the same money, you're going to take the Hyundai, even if the starting MSRP is higher. So it's good, and it will just be interesting to see how all the prices level out over the next year, particularly if they take away the tax credit, which is going to shake up the market, or perhaps when they take away the tax credit, how that shakes up the market. So Equinox might yet have its moment in the sun, but the Blazer was a bit of a disappointment. We had all sorts of problems with it, but also, it was very expensive for what it was. Equinox is much more convincing. So okay. Well done, Chevy. And then the other one, ID Buzz.
Yeah. What category does it go into? Like,
it's like, well,
is it an SUV? What is it? But you got to put it somewhere.
But also, if you think about SUV is sports utility vehicle. This is a sports utility vehicle, right? So who cares? It's like it competes with the Kia EV9. It competes with all those guys. It's a 3-row family SUV with a sliding door, as far as I'm concerned. Looks cool, drives well, tons of space. Kids loved it. Yes, the only thing against it is, all of these, that they're quite expensive. And it's also, it's a big unit. I wish, we talked about this before, I wish they'd brought in the 2-row and sold it as a Model Y rival. They haven't done that. But I think, it's a cool thing. I've barely driven a vehicle in the last year that's created more attention. We had about the first one in the country. I parked it outside my house. All the neighbors were asking questions. like last week, as I had a birthday party. Oh, was that you with the ID Buzz? We're looking at that. Looks cool. So, I think Volkswagen's got an opportunity here, and yeah, it's a cool thing. The kids loved it, which has always got to account for something.
Have you done the full testing? Do you know what kind of range?
Yeah, we did. We to be in the awards, we have to do the full testing, and that's one of the things that actually counted against it. I haven't got the exact figure inside me, but in front of me, but it was in I think the 200s rather than the 300s. So it's okay, but not great. Which perhaps
That's what I recall you saying when we talked about this car before.
yeah, I can probably just look it up as we talk, and that's ultimately what tipped the balance in favor of our winner, which might not have the instant cool factor of the ID Buzz, but he's just a great all round. ID Buzz did 262 miles, Matt, which is good but not great.
Yeah.
And the Kia EV9 is just a fantastic vehicle. This was our best of the best last year. Again, it's another
now. So even the new vehicles that have come out can't topple the EV9. The EV9 still stands out as the best electric SUV.
That's right. It's just last year's winner, won again, over 300 miles of range. Hyundai Kia at the moment, they're smashing it. I love the way it looks. It's very distinctive. It feels upmarket. The interior is like a luxury car. Lots of clever tech. Charges really fast. Drives really nicely. Over 300 miles of range. The MSRP is, chunky. Starts at 56 grand, goes up to nearly 80, 70, 75 plus. But the lease deals can be competitive. So it's, even if you think, oh, that's expensive, have a look at where the deals are, have a look at what the lease deals are in particular, because it's a great vehicle. It really is. We have one on our test fleet, and I'm very fortunate position. We get to drive all these different cars, and if I'm not going like crazy miles, that's our family road trip car. It's great.
Okay. Not surprised by that. Next year will be kind of interesting because if we start to get some of the things that we saw at the auto shows this year, like LA Auto Show and the Hyundai SUV, their luxury SUV that's kind of like the EV9, it'll be interesting to see where this category falls next year.
Yeah, because the Ioniq 9 from Hyundai is basically the EV9 in Hyundai form and looks really appealing. I know Ford has cancelled their 3-row EV, but there's others that are going to hit the market. So yeah, interesting times.
Okay.
Should we talk trucks?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about the truck market. This one is, well, the top rated, the runners up. This is interesting. You have an F-150, which I'm not surprised about. It always seems to be at the top of the class, but and then Hyundai Santa Cruz. These are the two.
Yeah,
one sells a lot, one doesn't sell any.
Well, I think it sells any. I mean, they're obviously different ends of the market. But Santa Cruz had an update this year. It obviously is a rival to the Ford Maverick as a sort of compact trucks. So it makes me laugh because every time you see, like a handyman or a gardener around our life, everybody's driving like age-old Tacomas because they're so reliable, and you just beat them up and they keep coming back. And in some ways, the Santa Cruz is basically the same size as a Tacoma used to be. It's a really good truck, particularly if you don't need like massive bed, but you want a truck rather than SUV. Good to drive, not massive inside, but there is a place for smaller trucks. And, there's basically the Santa Cruz against the Maverick. And, we prefer the Santa Cruz. It's a nice vehicle. And it's perhaps a nice vehicle people who wouldn't naturally, consider a truck.
Yeah. Okay. And then F-150, which has been revised for 2025.
It is. And this was a tough call as to whether it would win overall. It's been revised, sensible update, nothing truly groundbreaking, but it is America's workhorse, isn't it? You can specify pretty much whatever you want. It's good to drive, comfortable, spacious. You can choose, so many different options, so you can kind of, fit it to exactly what you need. Work, play. It is, there's a reason they sell so many of them, and
right.
And across such a broad spectrum of price range as well. So right up to kind of a luxury car rival. So it's still a great full size truck.
And then our winner, though, is the 2025 Ford Ranger. So Ford taking two of the spots.
Yeah, it did. And if you remember last year, the Chevy Colorado won this award, and then but the Rangers come out this year. And so if you look at the sort of mid-sized truck market, pretty much everything's been updated. You had new Colorado, you had new Tacoma, new Ranger. So all the big players are new. And, the Ranger in the past, didn't perform terribly well in the US. It was strange because you had the F-150 and the Maverick was doing okay, but the Ranger was always like the ugly duckling. But it's really flourished now. It's a really good vehicle, really comfortable on the road, does all the truck stuff well. It's tight. I mean, the Tacoma, particularly if you get a hybrid Tacoma, is really good.
Yeah.
Colorado, last year's winner, still really strong. So it's not like the Ranger is kind of, a quantum leap forwards. But when you look at it overall, it just sneaks a win.
Yeah, I think that's a worthy winner. They did well there. All right, so let's last category, electric truck. We'll get into
Electric truck. So
electric
this,
truck. Not a lot of not a lot of choices here.
yeah, it's like what are the choices? I mean, obviously there are what are the electric trucks out there where you've got obviously Silverado EV,
Yeah.
Cybertruck, Hummer, F-150 Lightning, Rivian. Have I
Yeah.
missed anything? No, that's about your lot, isn't it? So it's like it is a smaller category. The Ram isn't here yet, but it probably will be by next year. And we're still, as a highly recommended, we had the Lightning was our the best couple of years back, won last year.
Yeah.
Highly recommended this year. As you know, as an owner, it does a
Yeah.
lot of F-150 stuff really well. If
Yeah.
unless if you're not towing and hauling, when when the range and stuff starts to let it down a little bit, if you just want an electric truck, and of course you've got the benefits of the front trunk and everything else, it's an F-150 in electric form and, a well executed one.
All right, and then the winner overall is the Rivian R1T, and this is mostly due to some of the changes that they've made this past year, although it looks pretty much the same.
It looks pretty much the same. No bad thing. I think it's pretty cool looking. Fantastic wheels on the car that we shot in the studio as well. Yeah, they just it's a little bit like what we're talking about earlier with the Model 3, where they've just gone through it. They've done a lot of over-the-air updates with the software, but with the sort of facelift, if you want to call it that, they've improved some of the hardware as well. So, it goes further, it drives better, it's more comfortable. There's just lots of kind of marginal gains that add up to something, really substantial. Yeah, a lot of people say it's more of a kind of lifestyle truck than, something that you're going to see on a construction site, and that's okay. It will do trucky stuff. It's not as big as an F-150, but it's still, it sort of sits between like where range, if you think of it in gas terms, sits between a Ranger and an F-150 in terms of size.
Yeah.
But great to drive, tons of tech, tons of range, and also a better lineup of models now, more choice at different price points. I mean, it's far from cheap. Starts at just over 70 grand, goes to over 100. But unfortunately, none of the electric trucks are cheap, so it is what it is.
And I'm not surprised by this. We talked a little bit before on an earlier show about some of the changes that they made and some new battery tech and that were sort of welcome additions to the, upgrades to the vehicle. I'm I'm curious. Silverado didn't even make the list, and it seemed like that was coming out. It was going to be quick, and it's kind of sharp looking, and it's supposed to have good range. But we haven't really had much of a conversation about the Silverado and how it tested and how it compared to some of these other vehicles. But that's going to be a question for sure. It's like, how did Silverado not even make the list?
Yeah, you're right, Matt. We took a decision to just give one highly recommended on the truck category because we feel like this is an award, so you shouldn't almost just like get in by default if you
Yeah.
haven't got that bigger category. Yeah, maybe we'll save it for another show. The biggest challenge also with the Silverado is when we ran these tests, and still, you could only get the top model, which is 100 grand.
Yeah.
Or I think that there's a work truck coming on board. So I think the Silverado will almost have like another chance because the range will expand and you'll get sort of cheaper versions coming. So that was part of the thing as well. Like the only one you can buy is over like 100 grand, and and Cybertruck as well. We look at our Edmunds rating, which is the bedrock on which all this built, and if you're not getting over 8 out of 10, you shouldn't be in the mix. So we didn't want to just say stick the Cybertruck in there because we should have two. It just didn't feel like the right decision to make.
Right. This isn't the participation ribbon. These are
No,
the top
it's not.
rated.
It's not like it's not like your kid's school where if it wasn't like that in my day. My school was pretty brutal, but you don't get you don't get any participation awards here.
Yeah. I mean, it's called top rated. It's not,
Yeah,
these are the most recommended vehicles
yeah, it's not.
from you and,
Uh,
and your team. So
and then we have the best,
yeah,
which we didn't talk about.
here we go. Best of the best.
So the best, we have to return to the beginning of the conversation, which is the Honda Civic Hybrid. And it's been really interesting watching the reaction this morning. And as we record this show, it's only just starting to filter in. But we've had some nice feedback from people saying, like, thank you for actually recommending a sensible car rather than just something that looks wacky or goes really fast. It's just hard to fault. I mean, for all the reasons that we talked about at the beginning of this conversation. Great to drive, fuel efficient, loads of tech, decent space for families, and 30 grand in a market where, the average car is still, in the high 40s. Everything's got really expensive. This is just a great all-round car for 30 grand. So it is the sweet spot. I'm just looking at our copy there, 200 horsepower, 49 mpg. And that's in our testing. That's not in the laboratory. That's in our testing. So
Yeah.
just a really good all rounder.
Yeah. And it looks good. It looks sharp.
Yeah. And if you've got different choices. If you go for the higher trim models, and you start to get nicer trim and Bose hi-fis and all that sort of good stuff that adds that extra layer of luxury. So yeah, well done, Honda.
Well done, Honda. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap things up. Again, go to edmunds.com/top rated. Of course, you can find it on the YouTube channel, I believe, as well.
You can. There's a sort of, if you don't, well, you just listen to the 45-minute version. But if you want the 12-minute version with lots of fancy pictures, then watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, a little bit more visual. We'll put this one up on YouTube, but yeah, get more of the details, dig into the test results. You can see more of the comparison by going to Edmunds' website as well, and dig into the other top rated cars, the runners up that we went through as well. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a good selection of cars. I think you guys did a great job. I know it takes a lot of work to get this there, but yes, I agree with all of these.
Splendid. That means a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Not that you asked.
Now I feel validated in every way.
Yeah, I'm not gonna send you like an angry tweet or something. I mean, like,
please do.
how dare you? All right, let's. I know you've got still a lot to do today. We're just rolling all of this out today, so I appreciate you taking the time to jump on. We missed Goldberg today, but he's prepping for some other projects, so we'll get him back hopefully next week.
Yeah.
I'm going to be heading out to Barrett-Jackson as well. I'm going to do a quick trip there, so maybe when we regroup, we'll have a little bit of conversation about that as well.
That sounds good. Well, as you'll head to Barrett-Jackson, I'm going to NADA, which is the dealer show down in New Orleans. So we're both on our travel. It's just we can talk about it next week. The dealer show is just get a sense of scale of the American, automotive retail industry. Just the, it's. I think people outside the industry would just be blown away by the scale of this show that happens every year. Last year it was Vegas. This year it's New Orleans, although apparently it's just dumped a ton of snow. So I'm getting updates saying, keep an eye on your flight. So we'll see.
Yeah,
hopefully I make it to New Orleans.
It's snowing in Florida.
Yeah,
it's just getting pounded out there with just the weather all around. And by the way, out here with we got more fires and now in San Diego and stuff, and we're gonna get a little bit of rain over the weekend, which means mudslides are coming. So,
but I mean, honestly, I fled the UK to escape the rain, and then and right now in California, it's been such a tough couple of weeks that like I looked at my phone this morning, it said rain coming on Sunday, and I was like
Yep.
jumping for joy. I told the kids that rain's coming. It's just funny how life treats you. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoy the awards. Send us some notes as well. Like if you vehemently disagree, then do tell us. And
Yeah.
if you agree, happy to be validated.
All right. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Until next time, keep the air in the spare and the bag in the wheel.